Just as Lin Moyu activated his newly awakened resurrection of the dead skill on the corpse lying before him, the lifeless body slowly began rising back to its feet. Watching such an unbelievable scene unfold with his own eyes, Antares was completely stunned and exclaimed, "Unbelievable! A skill like this actually exists in this world." Within moments, the scattered bones that had been lying on the ground completely reassembled themselves. As the resurrection finished, the creature gradually regained the exact appearance it had before its death. The instant it fully revived, it let out a deafening roar. It was the desolate wild beast, and the sheer force of its roar shook the entire area. The moment Lin Moyu saw the resurrected desolate wild beast, his expression immediately turned serious. Looking directly at the creature, he calmly ordered it to kneel. As soon as it heard his command, the beast obeyed without the slightest hesitation, and immediately dropped to one knee before him. After confirming that the creature would faithfully follow every order, Lin pointed toward Antares and commanded, "Carry out my order. Attack him." Hearing those words, Antares looked slightly surprised, while the desolate wild beast instantly stood up with a furious growl before charging straight toward him. Seeing the beast rushing in his direction, Antares calmly rose to his feet and casually lifted one of his claws. The moment the creature came within range, he swung his claw once, crushing the desolate wild beast instantly and killing it on the spot with overwhelming ease. As soon as the creature was destroyed, Lin immediately deactivated Resurrection of the Dead. However, Antares stared at him with an annoyed expression before saying angrily, "You brat. You actually controlled that thing and made it attack me." Lin simply smiled before replying, "I was only testing my new skill. Besides, even if the desolate wild beast king was resurrected, it still couldn't possibly injure someone as strong as you, right?" He knew from the very beginning that the creature was never capable of threatening Antares. After hearing that explanation, Antares nodded before saying, "I honestly never expected your skill to truly resurrect the desolate wild beast king. It's been dead for countless years, yet after being revived, it's actually even stronger than it was when it was alive. If you were given the corpse of a super god, you could probably defeat both the Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor without much difficulty." Just then, another strange change suddenly began occurring inside Lin Moyu's body. Feeling the familiar sensation once again, he frowned and quietly muttered, "It's happening again." Almost immediately afterward, another system notification appeared before his eyes. Skill obtained, Infinite Fusion. Fuse undead creatures or skills together to create entirely new undead and abilities. Depending on the combination, the fusion may become weaker or receive a tremendous increase in power. After reading the notification, even Lin Moyu couldn't hide his surprise at the incredible ability he had just obtained. Meanwhile, Antares also became curious and immediately asked, "So, what new skill did you awaken this time?" Lin looked at him and answered, "It's called Infinite Fusion. I can now fuse my undead or even my skills together to create completely new undead creatures and brand new abilities." Hearing that explanation, Antares immediately smiled and said, "Then let's test it right now." Without wasting any time, Lin agreed and immediately began summoning his undead army. Moments later, the undead horseman and the skeletal dragon appeared before both Lin Moyu and Antares, standing side by side while awaiting their master's command. The instant both undead creatures were summoned, Lin activated Infinite Fusion. As the skill took effect, both undead bodies instantly broke apart into countless tiny particles before slowly merging together, their forms gradually fusing into a single existence. Only a few moments later, the fusion was complete. The two undead had evolved into an entirely new and far more powerful creature. Standing before Lin Moyu and Antares was a magnificent headless dragon knight, a headless knight mounted atop a mighty skeletal dragon. Both Lin and Antares were left speechless as they stared at the newly created undead. Looking at the unbelievable result, Lin couldn't help but say in complete disbelief, "I never expected the fusion to create something like this." Even Antares looked genuinely astonished. Staring at Lin, he asked, "Just what is happening with you, kid? Why is every single skill you awaken so unbelievably powerful?" A moment later, Lin looked toward Antares and said, "By the way, Antares, there's something I wanted to ask you." Hearing the serious tone in his voice, Antares immediately asked, "Did something happen?" Lin then began explaining everything that had happened when he reached level 80. He carefully told Antares about the divine punishment, describing every single event that had occurred during his breakthrough without leaving out any details. After listening to the entire story, Antares frowned slightly before saying, "Divine punishment. I've never heard of anyone attracting heavenly punishment simply by leveling up. Perhaps there's something unusual about your soul. Let me take a closer look." Hearing those words, Lin quietly sat down and calmly allowed Antares to examine him. Just as Antares prepared to inspect Lin Moyu's soul, Lin quietly sat down without offering the slightest resistance. Trusting Antares completely, he remained perfectly calm while waiting for the examination to begin. The moment Lin settled down, Antares immediately activated Divine Dragon's Insight. Instantly, a massive eye formed entirely from divine energy appeared on his forehead. As soon as the eye opened, Antares focused his gaze directly on Lin's soul. Before entering Lin Moyu's spiritual world, Antares looked at him and said, "I'm about to enter your spiritual world and examine your soul. Don't resist me." Lin simply nodded in agreement, giving his permission without saying a single word. With Lin's approval, Antares entered his spiritual world. As soon as he stepped inside, he looked around cautiously before muttering, "Let's see what exactly happened to you." Without wasting any time, he immediately began moving deeper into Lin's spiritual world. As he continued advancing at incredible speed, Antares said, "Now I'm going to enter the deepest part of your soul." While using Divine Dragon's Insight to push farther inside, he suddenly sensed something unusual hidden within the depths of Lin's soul. This kid, there's definitely something hidden at the deepest part of his soul. The strange presence became clearer the farther he traveled, making Antares increasingly alert as he continued moving toward its source. However, the moment he reached the deepest region, the enormous dragon eye created by Divine Dragon's Insight was instantly destroyed without warning. Witnessing his divine ability shatter so effortlessly, Antares widened his eyes in complete disbelief and exclaimed, "How is this possible?" At that exact moment, a mysterious symbol hidden deep within Lin Moyu's soul appeared before Antares. The instant he recognized it, his expression changed dramatically as he cried out in shock, "A great world curse! How can this be? Why has someone like you been branded with the great world's curse?" As soon as the mysterious symbol sensed Antares' presence, it immediately released an overwhelming wave of dark purple energy. Outside the spiritual world, Lin sensed something was wrong and anxiously called out Antares' name. Meanwhile, inside the spiritual world, Antares felt the terrifying power erupting from the curse. Without hesitating for even a moment, he immediately retreated from Lin's soul while shouting, "What terrifying power! It destroyed my soul projection in an instant." After escaping from Lin's spiritual world, Antares looked at him with a grave expression and said, "Deep within your soul lies a great world rune hidden beyond ordinary perception. I don't know what happened to you, but one thing is certain. You've been cursed by the great world." Hearing those words, Lin Moyu looked completely confused before asking, "A great world rune? What exactly is that?" Seeing his confusion, Antares took a deep breath and began explaining the terrifying truth behind the mysterious rune. A great world rune is the oldest and most profound rune that exists within a great world. It represents the world's most fundamental power, its original laws, the source from which everything began, and the origin of all existence itself. He paused briefly before continuing, "The great world is nothing like the small world you currently live in. Comparing the two is like comparing a tiny pond to an endless ocean. The difference is beyond imagination. Whoever can truly control a great world rune becomes the ruler of the great world itself, the supreme existence standing above everything." His expression gradually became more complicated as he continued speaking. Throughout countless ages, innumerable supreme experts have attempted to master a great world rune, but every single one of them failed. That power marks the absolute end of the path pursued by every true powerhouse. After a brief silence, Antares continued, "The only time I've ever witnessed the mark of a great world rune was during the ceremony honoring the ancestral dragon. Even then, I only saw its imprint on the manifested body of the ancestral dragon. After listening carefully to everything, Lin looked at Antares and asked, if a great world rune is such an incredible existence, then why would it place a curse on me? Hearing the question, Antares remained silent for a moment before finally answering, I don't know. That existence is beyond even the ancestral dragon's understanding. Even as he spoke, there was clear hesitation in his voice. Seeing Antares hesitate, Lin looked at him seriously and quietly reminded him, we're friends. Hearing those simple words, Antares slowly closed his eyes, remaining silent for a few moments before opening them again with a determined expression. His eyes were now filled with absolute resolve. Pulling one of his own dragon scales from his body, Antares looked directly at Lin and declared, even if it's the Great World Rune, so what? I'll help you fight it. The instant he finished speaking, Antares shot into the sky at incredible speed. While soaring higher and higher above the ground, he repeated with unwavering determination, even if it's the Great World Rune, I'll fight it together with you. As he reached the sky, Antares opened his enormous jaws and rapidly gathered an immense amount of energy. Once the power had fully condensed, he unleashed it directly onto the dragon scale he had removed. The instant the energy struck the scale, it immediately began evolving, releasing an overwhelming wave of terrifying cold-type energy from within.